Alright, it is time for today's budget arena video. Going to be heading back to YouTube. Weather's rough at the time period that I'm making this, so not able to stream unfortunately, but will be keeping the videos coming in regardless. This video is going to have an exciting end to it. It may be rough getting through this. We'll also, during the matches, since some of the matches are kind of stale for the most part with me still building, I will be talking about the recent BNR announcements with the rule change and everything and some opinions, even on the formats that I don't typically play a lot, especially since I haven't been traveling and playing. I don't play Moto a lot. The 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 platform just infuriates me. I would much rather play a bad standard or bad historic than play Moto any day. I may eventually start playing it on here, but it's just too rough for me. I can't handle it. But like I said, I will talk about those during the matches. Right now, just going to go over what I'm going to be attempting to do today. So, daily. Alright, the reward decks. 5 for 100 spells. So looking to play a deck that's going to cast a lot of spells. The best deck for me to do this with is the mono red. It's a bunch of 1-drops and a bunch of 2-drops. And then the rest of the deck is just big creatures. But for the most part, over half the deck is, or at least a third, is 1 and 2 mana cards. So that's going to be the better direction to head. So the best way for me to maximize this is to flip one of these reds, hope that it doesn't hit red again unless it hits 750. But even if it does, I'm willing to sacrifice one of these in order to make sure I get this today, because getting 5 decks will definitely help out in the grand scheme of things of hurrying the process along of getting these decks more competitive so that I can hit the goal of gold before the end of the month, and next month start looking into consistently getting into gold and possibly even platinum, looking into building actual budget decks that will greatly help people, and that's ultimately the goal of this channel. I feel like I want to flip this green one because green is another deck I could play if I'm struggling to get wins. 740 lands. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to be sacrificing this one in order to get this. I could technically just play white or black or some combination of them and only lose 1 daily, but I want to try to get this as quick as possible. I think by the time I cast 100 spells, I can have struggled through getting 4 wins with mono red. I believe that's possible. One other thing, checking the store for the day. See what we got. Just aesthetics, nothing worth wasting gold on. Or spending gold on, rather. My other account might appreciate it, but this one, not going to touch it. So just going to try to get the wins with this. So, anyway. While we're on this uphill climb of trying to get 100 spells cast, in addition, getting the lands in play is not exactly easy either. This is okay. I mean, I should cast these 4 spells. That'll be something towards the grand scheme of things. Start going through this ban list announcement. Just starting with the format that actually does affect me. Historic. Omnath, I mean, just getting banned from suspended. I mean, nobody is surprised about that. It's just too much for historic to handle. I mean, anybody who knows me knows that I'm not big on banning cards. I like getting answers, but even I'm okay with Omnath getting banned. The next thing is the big one, Uro, which is going to appear in most of these lists. It's just too much. Uro and one other card has been on my radar for cards I want to see getting banned in Historic. It's not that I think that the 2 cards I'm going to mention are overpowered. I think Uro had a lot of places where it was fine, but it kept other decks from existing. And I think that was the big problem you had with it. Still gonna go red, even though... Okay. Anyway, it kept decks from existing. It made the burn deck struggle. It made a lot of aggro decks struggle. Pretty much you had to play... Like, some of the blue-white decks were trying to win, and they did okay, but your control deck struggled against the Euro decks, or just straight up had to play it. Basically the same way it did in other formats. Let's see. So it was really unnecessary, and it's a card that just, in the long run, it's always going to be one of the better decks. So it needed to go. Just quickly, I think I'm just going to be casting spells this game. I don't think I have much of a chance to win. No reason to attack. Just going to quickly hit on Pioneer. I have not played Pioneer since the combo decks where it was, what am I thinking about? Thassa's Oracle and Inverter was big, so I don't even know what the last Pioneer meta looked like. So I really don't know much to say about this list other than Uro seems like it's a card that pretty much needed to go. Very happy about Teferi Time Raveler. I have played formats where I was winning with Teferi and playing against Teferi, you know, in Historic and Standard was always annoying, so I can imagine it was a problem there. However, I will say this, quickly touching on my feelings on Teferi Time Raveler, at least my experience with it. Alright. This is going to be a rough set of blocks. Let me see what... Okay, so I assume I'm going to here. Yeah. Okay, so I'm fine with my opponent getting Woe Strider back. Opponent's playing a 67 card deck, or really a 80 card deck, I guess. That's fun. Nice username too. Anyway, so the big deck I was playing whenever Teferi came out was Mono Blue Tempo, and a lot of people thought that was just going to be the end of that deck. The deck actually had a lot of game against it. The card that ended Mono Blue was not that. It was Veil of Summer. Might as well attack with a 3-1. Okay. Should lose this game fairly soon, but we'll see. There's a few cards on this list I think I could do well with. Tectonic Giant would be good to draw. It's another Celebrant. Is my opponent able to cast this? Yes. Like, they won't cast it this turn, obviously. Okay, that's good. I will swing out, see how my opponent does this. They'll probably block here and then kill this. That'll still get damage through. That's fine. Now, Tech Giant. I'll at least get potentially a spell off of it, depending on when my opponent casts any removal. Okay. So definitely exiling top 2 cards. Alright. When is this until? Until your next turn. So I'm not going to get to cast this Raging Goblin. I wish we had that old Art of Raging Goblin. That thing was really cool. So, I mean, that's about the extent I can talk about Pioneer. There's not much to say. I know a little bit more about Modern because I was more invested in Modern back then, and I still kind of am because I keep up with where Prowess and Death Shadow are, even though I don't play. Okay, I guess I still get it. That's fine. No attacks. Okay. Anyway, so just touching up on this real quick. Alright, so there's one band I'm really excited about, and the rest of it's just kind of, I guess that's what was necessary. Okay, and I'm gonna lose this. My opponent will not quite be able to if I find a way to get rid of Woe Strider. Yeah, I'm just gonna keep going just to try to get more spells cast. If I draw land here, I'll take my beats there. Okay. Anyway. So, I don't have much experience playing against Field of the Dead and Mystic Sanctuary in the format, but... and really Uro in that format, but I have played against them in other formats. I have had experience against Titan decks before, so I can imagine how bad it was for Field of the Dead. Then, of course, I know about the loops you can do with Mystic Sanctuary and Cryptic Command. Okay. I will basically... I mean, this can get rid of Woe Strider. So, that's good. Like, I'm still in a bad spot, but this gets rid of Woe Strider. And we're pretty much just both top decking. Okay, some opponents thinking about whether they want to sacrifice the goat or not. If I just draw all of this card, the Goblin Gathering, that's actually pretty good since I've got 2 banners. That being said, this is fine. I'm going to go ahead and play it. I'm not going to wait on a creature and use Stomp. Anyway, so I could see where those are kind of oppressive to certain strategies, and that's ultimately things I root against. Like, the more decks you open up to being able to play, the happier I am. That being said, I do like the idea of giving people a chance to find answers. I hate when people are just obsessed with ban this, ban this, ban this, instead of seeing if there are answers for it first. Like, there were formats in Standard recently, especially when the whole ban surge started happening at first, like with Smuggler's Copter, with Reflector Mage, and Emrakul. Emrakul might have been too much. Smuggler's Copter was not. The problem with Smuggler's Copter was we didn't have answers for Smuggler's Copter. So that's ultimately where I want to be. I want to ban as few cards as possible, but as long as you're giving a lot of decks a chance to play, everything's fine. Which made me remember I did forget to talk about something with Historic. Claim the Firstborn. I don't like this card. I like having the Mayhem Devil decks in here. The Jund Sacrifice, the Rakdos Sacrifice decks. They are really powerful. Claim the Firstborn with certain styles of decks, like decks that care about their creatures on turn 1 and turn 2, they just instantly lose. Everything about Claim the Firstborn is the worst possible outcome for them. So it's a card I don't like. It creates this bad world for them, and it can have such a drastic swing that they really can't do much. Whereas, if you get rid of Claim the Firstborn but keep Mayhem Devil, the Jund Sacrifice decks still have a great chance at beating those decks. The sacrifice decks will still win most of the time because of Mayhem Devil. However, you have to get set up to make that happen. Whereas you just literally have one sacrifice outlet and Claim the Firstborn, that's their entire strategy out of the way, and there's nothing that can be done the rest of the way. So, I mean, that's the other card that I was thinking in Historic I would like to see go. Just because it prevents decks from existing. This is fun. Just all Heraldic Banners. My opponent is going to get a chance unless they block. Okay, and that'll make a token. That is also a 4/1, and we'll get no value off of this Tech Giant. So that's good. Alright, anyway, back to this. Tybalt's Trickery just makes sense, especially since they did the rule change, so it was the next card in line for the being able to spam into these huge threats. Ah, come on. I just needed a way to quickly finish this off. Alright, so it looks like they're not going to be able to cast this Bone Crusher Giant this turn. Got mana to do anything. Alright. This is a 6/3, but my opponent has a Bone Crusher Giant, so I can't exactly swing. I need cards that make a bunch of tokens. Okay. Uh-huh. Oh, there we go. Perfect. That's the exact card I was looking for. Yeah, let's swing everybody. This seems fine. Looks like I'm just going to get 2 wins off the bat. May not even get to cast 100 spells before getting 4 wins. Okay, but yeah, the Tybalt's Trickery into Emrakul's and stuff like that. I mean, it's basically the same thing with playing Tybalt's Trickery on Arena, except that is far more consistent. So, like the Tybalt's Trickery decks in Standard and Historic, they're very unfun to play against. They're fun to play with. I love playing with mine, but I definitely see where getting a turn 2 Ugin or a turn 2 Ulamog is not pleasant because you just instantly lose on the spot. I've had several games where go. Let's go Celebrant. Several games where I just start my turn 2 or turn 3 with no lands, and I mean, there's nothing you can do at that point. So it's definitely one of those strategies that it's not fun to play against, but yeah, I'm just gonna go Nest Robber. Hope that I can draw land next turn. I do have plenty of removal, so I can maybe keep my opponent from gaining life. Forbidden Friendship. If I hit that land, I have a lot of options, because if I hit that land, I can play Banner, play Tech Giant. I have plenty of removal. I can get rid of this. Could get rid of this. Okay. So. Yeah. So 4 missing 3 land drops, this hasn't been bad. And I could still get this if I just get a land. Oh boy. Okay, my opponent's giving me life. Alright, that takes care of that. I'm still in the same position of needing to get a land, and I could get back in this. My opponent is flooding pretty hard. Whereas I'm very much on the opposite side. Ooh, now they're going to get double Griffins. Alright, I'm going to call it. I'm going to cast one more spell, and that'll be it. That's okay. The deck's going 2 and 3 so far today. I will give it credit. That's one of those. Looks like I'm going to get a Kaldheim booster after that. And I should hit that experience points. So that's it as far as that goes. Now for my favorite card on the modern ban list. And it's not even because whether I think it should have been banned or shouldn't have or whatever. It's a card I've been calling for getting banned for at least 3 years now. I have never liked Simian Spirit Guide. I've played Simian Spirit Guide. I've played against it several times. I do not like anything it's capable of doing. As much as I'm happy Blood Moon exists, and I think it's necessary, I hate playing against Blood Moon, and the early turn, the turn 1 and turn 2 Blood Moons, I cannot stand them. So I'm very, very happy that Simian Spirit Guide finally got banned. I thought it needed to get banned 3 years ago. So the fact that they've done it just makes me think about time. Oh, this is gonna be a pain. Alright, Fire Prophecy. Here, I can get rid of one of these. Let's go ahead and do the damage. Glad my opponent blocked there so I can keep those around. Traded a mountain for a mountain. Okay. But just the degenerate things you can do, like ignoring the combo decks, ignoring the decks that went on turn 2 or turn 3 with Simian Spirit Guide. just the like degenerate early turn. Oof. Kind of want to get rid of this artisan while I can, but I need to get this tech giant in play. It's iffy. I probably should have gotten rid of the Fiend Artisan, but I need to get this tech giant online so I can start generating some plus value. If my opponent wants to sacrifice something. Okay. Choose one of them. I'll choose Bone Crusher. Okay, I feel like you want to sacrifice the Stone Coil to get it out of range of Bone Crusher Giant. No blocks, that's fine. Okay. Let's stomp this. Okay, cool. So yeah, that was a band I'm very happy about. Now for the last format, and probably the least relevant to me, except for maybe Pioneer. Arkham's Astrolabe just makes sense. I mean, it plays around Blood Moon. Like I said, I have my problems with Blood Moon, but I do think it's a necessary evil sometimes. So, giving decks just free ways to play around Blood Moon seems like it's a bad thing. Like, Blood Moon is a card that keeps decks in check. A card like Arkham's Astrolabe makes it to where it doesn't do that, because you just play these snowlands, they're free, it's like playing Field of the Dead in your deck. It's a land, it's not hurting you to play it. Okay, so we're getting the counters on this. At least it doesn't have... Alright, what is this? Activate 4/5? Yeah, you're gonna do that. When is this? Okay, it's attacks. Alright, so we're gonna activate this, get a 5/5. And then the rest of this is gonna hit. Okay, and Nest Robber can have haste. So unless you have a way to gain a lot of life, that has reach. Okay, so my opponent can block 2 creatures. Oh, they're just going to concede. That's interesting. Alright. Okay, there's a Kaldheim booster. I'm just going to quickly check, see if this... I'm going to keep playing red. It seems to be doing fine, and it's casting plenty of spells. There's a pathway, there's a common. Some of this might help other decks. I think this is fine in the blue deck, but nothing too exciting. Nothing that changes red for sure. So yeah, that's a card that has about the most extent I can talk about. I mean, not much can be said about Oko that hasn't already been said. Dreadhorde Arcanist is interesting. I don't know enough about Legacy. It's the format out of all of these 5 plus standard that I know the least about. Surprisingly, I know more about Vintage than I do Legacy. Granted, my knowledge of Vintage has dropped off in the past year, but before that, I was tremendously into it. And to be honest, other than affordability, I think it's the most fun format. I actually think Vintage is the best Magic the Gathering format. Unfortunately, the decks are just way too expensive to expect a paper Magic tournament to do well. Kind of tempted to just shoot one of my creatures with Fire Prophecy. Hopefully my opponent plays something here. Don't play Pacifism. Alright. Just trying to get my opponent dead as fast as possible. If my opponent plays a creature, I can play Fire Prophecy. If they don't and I draw a land, I can play Banner and maybe finish this game off quicker. Fire Prophecy doesn't even do it now. Okay, there's a land. Okay, so 4 damage to this. Okay, with all the snow, and I can play Banner. Oof! That's a really good line. Alright. That card overperformed. Okay, and I've got double Fire Prophecy or Tech Giant next turn. So, yeah, I really don't know anything. Like, I know what deck Dreadhorde Arcanist was in, but I don't know exactly how good it was. So I have no opinion there about whether it needed to be banned or not. I have played a lot of Dreadhorde Arcanist decks, so I could see it being a problem. Okay, this is likely just to be Fire Prophecy and... Nah. I'll decline. Okay. So I could see where it's a problem, but overall I have no clue. Vintage, Luris the Dream Den. I wouldn't sleep on Luris the Dream Den. I think it's still very capable. Okay, so I can kill this. Assuming there's not a counter. Decline. Looks like my opponent was debating. Okay, it's just putting a counter on that. That's fine. Decline. Okay, just gotta get 2 damage through. So Luris the Dream Den was banned before the companion rule change. I'm sure if y'all seen any videos of people talking about it, and they did talk about Vintage, that's the opinion they've said. It's still going to be a very powerful card. It's going to be probably the most played companion in Vintage, I can imagine. But it's not going to be as busted as it was before. Just going turn 1 Black Lotus, turn 1 Luris, then get back Black Lotus. You won't have that anymore, but you still will have turn 1 Black Lotus, add Luris to your hand, and then maybe ramp into it turn 2, and then get back your Black Lotus. It'll probably just not combo off as fast, but it'll still be very good. I feel it will still be a played card in Vintage. Continuing on to the rule change that was put in, it just seemed like it was a necessary thing, and I feel like I'm saying the exact same things a lot of people have said about it. I assume this is going to get traded off. That's fine. Okay. But honestly, the whole thing about the way Cascade used to work with a lot of cards and the way it worked with Tybalt and or Valky, it just didn't make sense for that to be the rule. Let's just play another Careless. Because you look at the cards, you look at the Cascade cards, you look at other cards, it says cast a spell that's lower. it doesn't make sense to be able to cast one side and not the other, but that's just how the rule worked. So I'm glad they've clarified this. They really just need to make it official, because I think there's a few other cards that work this way. But they need to just silence all this. That way, anytime a card says you cast a spell from your hand, make it to where it does not let kind of want to keep this cadet down. Okay, my opponent can give this indestructible. Okay, I think I'm gonna let this resolve. Okay. So does it have indestructible yet? Yeah, it does. Okay. Yes, I'm gonna send this back. So at least they fixed that with Cascade. And so it's really good because, honestly, the Valky Tybalt, I think, is a very good card. I love the way it's designed. So I'm kind of happy that it's a card that's not banned or anything. I'm just gonna sacrifice this and then shoot one of my celebrants. Do that, do nothing. Okay, hit this while they can. Okay. Celebrant. Kind of just wanting to work on maximizing the spells I cast. I think this Predator's going to be too hard to get past. Especially now. See, it's just sacrifice anytime. Yeah, I'm just gonna get all these spells cast and then concede this game. Okay. Okay, so now I'm gonna concede. Alright, I got that spell cast. Where are we at? Halfway. Got the daily wins. I mean, any wins you get past 4 are definitely worth it, so we'll get to try to get more of those in, but the main thing is I want to get these 5 decks so that the rest of these episodes aren't as much of a struggle as they are now. Because getting 5 free decks is, it has to at least double how good the decks are. And while that's not going to be a mythic level deck, it will still be better than what it currently is. And honestly, I think for the first 2 seasons of this account, probably not going to be looking at mythic worthy decks. I do think this is an account that once I start following the deck building structure I'm going to have, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and play this Rimrock Knight. So what the eventual goal is, once I get to where I have a pool of cards, I've spread out my wild cards to where all 5 color decks, monocolor decks, are playable. I will occasionally throw in some 2 color decks or 3 color decks if I think they're competitive and they fit the main rule that I have, but for the most part it's going to be mono white. Okay. For the most part, it's going to be mono color decks. But the main rule I'm going to follow, and this is something other than for this building part, if I happen to play more rares than what I'm talking about, so be it. So I'm going to have 3 classes of decks: ultra budget, super budget, and budget. With the ultra budget, I will play decks that are 4 rares, and that's it. For the super budget, it will be 8 rares and 2 mythics. Oh, they took out my... Alright. Fine. 8 rares and 2 mythics, and then finishing off with 12 rares and... Okay. I mean, I can't contend with this, so I'm gonna try to get rid of this. Red. Okay. Alright. That's the best we can do there. This is 4-2 Trample Haste. That's probably the best one I could have seen. I think the rest of them, like, I definitely didn't want to see the 2-1 lifelink. The 1-2 that deals damage was going to be rough. Now it's going to be extremely difficult to punch any damage through. Okay. Yeah, just going to go ahead and cast this. Why not? It's another spell cast at least. Okay. Alright, 7 lands and I get that done, and 40 more spells. But once I get these free decks in, the plan is to... Oh, this is really good if I get a land. I hate throwing that back. Okay, definitely throwing that there. That had so many spells in it, and it was actually a very good hand if I just draw one land. I mean, this at least has 2 banners, so this is at least going to cast a lot of spells. And definitely can't let that live. Hopefully we don't see the 3 mana 2/4 angel. I'm resplendent something or whatever. I can't remember what it's called. That would be the worst thing I could see here. If it's just basic mono white life gain stuff, I think this is fine. Yeah. Especially if it's just pass, if there's not even a 3rd land. Oh, I forgot to play Raging Goblin. Ah, shoot. Okay. So if my opponent stabilizes with 2 life, I know where I messed up. I don't think I go banner this turn. I think I go banner next turn. I think I want to get these goblins in play because that's a lot of power. Okay. Okay, so opponent's taking this. They're not going to get Speaker of the Heavens online. Question is, can they gain enough life with Daxos? I would assume they can't. That's going to be enough to get a Griffin at least. Okay, so what can I swing with? I mean, just blocking with a Griffin is free. I don't know why they wouldn't do that. And that's gonna gain life with Daxos. Swinging with that Hallowed Priest. Can double block. Obviously you want this removal spell to be for Speaker of the Heavens, but at least keeps that off. Just pass. I mean, at least if I'm in a position where if my opponent starts to flood, then Daxos will become less relevant. That's not exactly flooding. Just take a banner. Okay. That's actually fine. I need to get rid of this speaker now. Okay. Celebrant's really good against Daxos, especially with these two banners. Alright. I think that Tech Giant would be a really good draw. Land is not. Okay, Vitality. It still makes it to where it's a trade with Daxos. Cadet's okay. Okay, there's a lot of cards in my deck that are live. Okay, that's really good. Swing both. Just gonna swing this. Bump it and Rimrock. At worst, I'd at least cast 2 more spells. Oh, there's a banner. So now they're matching there. Daxos is still kind of a problem, but I really need to get this Angel off the battlefield, so any removal spell for that. Bone Crusher Giant would be pretty amazing. Okay. See what my opponent's willing to do here. I mean, I can block with Raging Goblin and 10th Street. Okay, they are blocking here. I'm probably just going to kill this Angel of Vitality rather than Daxos. Yes. So that takes out both of them. Yeah, that's a huge swing. Like, if my opponent just draws 1 more land, that's probably game. Okay. That's not great. That's just one of those, yeah, that's not going to life gain or anything, so perfect. Probably should have just let it live, but I think I'm in a good spot either way. Mono red versus life gain. These are the matchups I love. Because the deck is supposed to be designed to beat what you're doing. And you still win. I really like this the few standards ago where there was the mono white deck that was built to beat mono red, and it was more of a mono white devotion, kind of like what that was playing, but obviously these are budget versions. And the thing I would always tell people is you can't have devotion if you're not alive. Like, fine, you're gaining all this life, but if you have no creatures in play, you're not gaining life. So, and like my mono red decks were just filled with removal spells, and the life gain decks just couldn't keep up. This is tempting to throw back Banner. I think that's actually the play. Because I want to keep these threats in. And I can always Fire Prophecy something back if it looks like I'm not going to be able to cast Tech Giant on turn 4. Oh, corridor. Nice. I like corridor decks, even though this is obviously not one. I like combo decks. It's probably just the best card they could play. It seems like. Seemed like this is an actual silver player. Okay, gonna go Tech Giant here. Could go Battle Driver. But I think I want this Tech Giant online. Not gonna get anything out of it because of Love Struck Beast, but still fine for now. At worst, if I swing next turn and they block with Love Struck Beast, I get at least a card out of it and get to get rid of Love Struck Beast. Okay. Let's see. I can Fire Prophecy and try to find something. Let's put one of these back. 10 Street's not going to do it. At worst, I'm trading with it. Let's definitely play this. Okay. This opponent's not going to take the chance to kill Tech Giant, so I'll at least get a couple of cards off of it. Forgot I could have given that haste. That's fine. Okay, with this block. Kill Elysian. See, if they exile this, they're gonna lose the enchantment. Like, you'll get a blocker, but... Okay, never mind. That's how that works. Alright. See if there's anything here. Nope. No reason to sacrifice this, I don't think. Okay. So this Love Struck Beast has pseudo vigilance. That's really good. I'm gonna take this 1 damage. I'll start chump blocking after that. That's another monitor. Not that it matters. Alright. No real reason to attack. Okay, Yorvo. Have to block here. And then untap Love Struck Beast. Alright. I'm gonna do this just to try to cast another spell. Oops, I accidentally took that. Meant to take the banner. Oh well. Alright, where am I at? Okay. 18 spells, getting close. Getting close. And then we'll take a look at these decks, and I will build decks for the next episode, but I will take a look at these 5 and see what kind of cards we can expect to be played for tomorrow's budget account. This is about as good as you're going to get. It's probably going to be 2 to 3 more games, but this could get a lot cast. This is a hand that could see 6 spells at least. And that's assuming I don't draw land till way later. Ruin Crab is going to cause a problem, at least for a turn, but I do have Fire Prophecy to deal with it. I will likely try to stomp it, depending on what my opponent plays. Alright, so my opponent does have a chance at playing a Drown in the Loch, so I will wait to... Okay, so definitely going to Fire Prophecy here. So I'm going to see one more land drop. Okay. Painful. Okay. Gonna throw back this Nest Robber. Okay, good. Did not miss the land drop. Not gonna do damage, but at least not gonna lose my creature for no reason. Some argument could be made for playing Prophecy there, but I kind of want to save this Prophecy for a bigger toughness creature. Perfect. That's kind of the ideal creature I wanted to see there. If my opponent has a 1 mana way to save this, so be it. Okay, so they're gonna get rid of my goblin. Okay. I do have double removal spell. But I think... This gathering has been tempting. Oof. Okay. Do I have anything good? I think Banner's good. Just take Banner and name blue. That's fine. Even if I don't draw land, I'm still going to get several spells cast this game. Okay. I'm not worried about this goblin. Okay. Just gonna pass here. Actually, no. I'm gonna play Careless Celebrant. Could double block. And then Frostbite would have killed Zareth. Okay. This game has potential to go on for a long time. Okay. Let's see. Think this is fine. Fire Prophecy. Send back Cadet. Because Terror of the Peaks is going to get me somewhere if there's a longer game. Cadet. Want to make sure I'm casting the right spells. And this gets rid of Zareth. So as long as there's not another one in their hand, I've dealt with that problem. Then next turn I can go Banner. Okay, so if I draw a land here, okay, we're obviously naming red. I have no intention of attacking. Okay. So this has potential of Zareth. I really need to hit my 4th land drop here. Like, I can't keep playing this game. Looks like this is... no? Okay. At least if I get to start double spelling. Alright, so equip that. That'll make it a 4 toughness, so it's out of range of Fire Prophecy. Oh boy. Okay. I guess Tech Giant is my best bet. That makes 4 goblins. I think this is my best bet. Okay, that's fine. Nothing. Alright, I'm still in a spot where if I draw land, maybe I can catch up. Okay, that's 2 non-lands. Shock wouldn't have been bad. Shock would have at least dealt with Soaring Thief. That is not a land. I do get more cards off of that though. Okay. Okay, so my opponent's going to... Okay. See where blockers are first. Okay. Okay, so that's now not going to deal damage. Okay. Fire Prophecy, get rid of... I think get rid of this Terror of the Peaks. Okay, get rid of this. Alright. Says first strike, so it deals with anything they put the Mind Carver on. I just want to check on the number of... There's 3 Zulaports played. Okay. If they play another one, so be it. Doesn't matter. Yeah, even if they flash in something like that. Oh, Sans Seraph. Oh. Wow. Ouch, that is the worst possible creature. And they get the Zulaport back in their hand. Oh, and that deck giant. Oh, that is rough. And still not hitting the land drop. Wonderful. Let's see. I think my best bet is just playing this and getting a bunch of goblins. Yep. Okay. So my own tech giant's going to be the biggest problem I'm having to deal with. Okay. When it's not playing a bluff to show removal, I assume just swing tech giant. I would probably swing both. Of course, I would have also not played that land. Okay. So I at least, well, never mind. Forgot about that ability. Guess there was nothing to worry about for my opponent. They should have just attacked. I always forget the tech giant has 2 abilities to choose from. Naturally, you just want to choose the value. Alright, 5 more spells. Should get it this game. Let's see how much these decks improve things. Keep a hand that casts 5 spells as quick as possible. Winning doesn't matter. I would say this does it. I mean, there's 5 castable spells just on 2 lands alone. And I'm on the play too. 3 of these are removal spells, so that's good against creature decks. Nest Robber can be played on turn 2. Stomp. Next turn can either hold up double Fire Prophecy or play Bone Crusher. That's fine. Okay. I think I'm just gonna swing this. Okay. Opponent knows I have some kind of removal. Okay, that makes things interesting. Let's see. Those are the only ones that profit. Yeah, it's fine. Okay. Yep. And it doesn't kill Bone Crusher Giant. And now all my creatures can gain haste. And I've got double Fire Prophecy. And I'm pretty sure I've already got the spells cast. Question is whether I can steal another win or not. Any removal spell's fine, because I'm still going to have 2 threats regardless. This is really good because it can give haste. Red. Okay. Now the tempting thing is to play Fire Prophecy and send Fire Prophecy back. Obviously no longer the tempting thing to do. Just gotta do 1 damage. That should be a concede. Oh, wow. Revitalize. I mean, that's not gonna do it, but... because any blocker is just gonna get in the way. Oh, is this gonna be a Bloodthirst? Oh, man. Alright. Playing for another turn. Tech Giant. Alright, this should end it. Okay. Think we got it? Good game. Yeah. Alright. That's not bad. 54% win rate? Sure. I'll take it. Alright. Now for the most important part. Woo! Okay. I'm seeing a Embercleave, that makes me very happy. Elder, that's very good. That's a Basari's Lieutenant. There's some lands. Baneslayer's not bad. Alright, let's actually see what's in these. And then I'll wrap this up and get ready for tomorrow's. Okay, Deadweight's good. Mire Tridents are going to be amazing. Order's going to be great. Murderous Rider. Demonic Embrace. A lot of very, very castable spells in black. Llanowar Visionary's not bad, for sure. Alright, this one's mostly going to help mono black, but there is at least Llanowar Visionary. So that's good there. Company of Knights. Looks like it's, I mean, obviously Embercleave is going to be amazing for mono red. Finishing off the playset of Rimrock Knights is good. That's another 1-drop. I see a lot of things going into mono white though. Basari's Lieutenant, more of these tacticians. Claim if I want to. Venerable Knight's good, even if it's just a 2-1 body, finishing off pacifisms. Could just play enchantments. Not really sure what direction to go with mono white. Of course, there is another deck to look at. Speaker of the Heavens. Erebos is good for mono black. Shadow Spear is just going to be good across the board. That'll probably go in all decks. This right here makes me steer towards playing a mono white enchantments as opposed to aggro, at least at the start. Still probably play Speaker of the Heavens. Let's see. Face Fetters, that's another reason to play mono white. And then, I mean, basically just play a mono white control deck. Clack Trolls, not bad. Menagerie. Well, if you have a playset of Llanowar Elves, Wolfhaven's not bad. Now have a playset of Ramthroos. Playset of Brushwags, that's important. Elder Gargaroth is amazing. Thorn Mammoth is amazing. Beanstalk Giant. Oh, Koga. Yeah, mono green looks to be really good now. Let's see if we can add a little bit to blue here. Brazen Borrower stands out. Opt. Riddle Form's not bad. I think this is going to really help red. Finishing out Shocks, finishing out Scorching Dragonfires, finishing out Forbidden Friendships. There's, oh, Shark Typhoon. That Shark Typhoon and Stormwing. Those are good. So that's not bad. That should, okay, let's back view this. It's a few colorless spells that could fit in everything. That's not bad. So I think the next few episodes are going to be really good. And it took that off, so that's it. So next episode, I'm going to be buying packs. In fact, well, no. I'm going to be starting out buying packs, crafting rares and uncommons and stuff. So the decks are going to look really good from here out. And then get another Kaldheim pack. So that's going to be good. So officially going to be headed towards the direction of seeing much better decks, and the win rate's going to go up. I definitely feel like gold is going to get hit this season. 11 days, that's nothing. Alright, with that we're going to wrap this one up, and we're going to be hitting gold soon with this account. Thank you for watching this Squirrel's Nest video. If you liked the video, please subscribe to the channel and leave a thumbs up. If you want to be a part of a live stream, come hang out with me on Twitch. Check out the Steamloots page and feel free to throw those on me at the worst possible time. Any comments or ideas you would like to see in video, leave a message in the comments section in Discord or on Twitter. All links will be in the description below. Catch you squirrels later.